guys, Maria from Pink Pony Design, and today we're going to be making a Hollywood handbag. This Hollywood handbag, in fact, and it is made from my own Christmas fabrics. So this waterproof here is from the limited edition Christmas line. So check it out if you haven't already. And this is what we'll be making. This pattern has gotten an update. And it's also pattern of the month for December, so don't miss that. It's 20% off all of December. No code needed, just go to the website. So this is the bag we're making today, and it is made in the waterproof and it's made with the vinyl. The Hollywood handbag comes in 2 sizes. I wish I had a large one to show you, but unfortunately they're all on loan to some Swedish stores who sell my patterns. So I don't have anyone at home, and since I mostly use the small one myself, I haven't really made a lot of the large ones, but it's only a little deeper. It's not wider, so it's just, you can just imagine it's about that much larger. So let's take a look inside. Let's do that on this one. So this is where the magic happened with the Hollywood handbag, because not only is it super secure, thanks to the double closure with the flap, and then the 2 zippers. So there's 2 completely separate departments, and it's folded in half to get this design. And each compartment has an open pocket for you to sort of organize your stuff. And it's the same in this one. An open pocket that you can divide as needed. And it's such a cool design because it's folded. Isn't that so cute? I just love the kind of quirky look that gives it from the side. And it's such a fun bag to make. And if you don't know how to make zippers beforehand, you will know after, because there's 2 to install in this one in the same manner. And I hope you'll be forgiving when you watch this video with me today, because there's been a lot of brain freezes and quite a few mess ups. So I hope you laugh with me and not at me. Let's get started, guys. So I have my flap pieces here. One is interfaced with foam interfacing, and the other one without. And this one, if you have, this is the lining. So if you have a directional fabric, this one should be upside down, since when you open the flap, it will be viewed from this direction. I have decided to skip the decor flap strap, so I'm going to leave mine simple like this without the decor bond. So we can start right away sewing our flap together. So place your flap pieces right sides together, and then we're going to clip all the way around by leaving the top straight edge unclipped, since we're going to want to get into that later. So this is an experiment because I've never done a YouTube video at night before. But I just got some new lighting for my sewing room, so I'm super excited to try and see if this actually will let me make videos at night, since my body is usually better during night and I have more energy at night than I do in the morning. So that's going to be really great. It's also helpful if you have threaded your machine before you start this. I'm just going to do that really quick. I'm working with a matching dark green thread. And oops. So I'm working with a presser foot that will allow me to sew right next to the interfacing, but not on top of it, since you never want your presser foot to lie angled up onto interfacing. That will result in an untight seam because of the uneven presser foot pressure. So you don't want that. If you have a domestic machine, I would recommend that you use something like this. This is the Zipper Foot E for the Husqvarna. And you can move your needle right up to the edge here so that you can sew right next to your interfacing. I hope you can see that. Right next to your interfacing, but leaving your presser foot laying flat on your fabric only, resulting in a really nice seam. So adjust your stitch length. I'm going to use 2.5 for this, and then I'm going to start sewing. slow and steady. Oh, my knee lift popped out on me. Slow and steady wins the race when it comes to these corners. So there you get a nice and nice corner, just straight around your tiny little curve there. And the same thing here. I stop with my needle down so that I can lift my presser foot, and I do that with my knee lift. Lift my presser foot and move my fabric around to get that really neat and precise result. Like so. Oh, that was not pretty, but no one's ever going to see that. And now we're going to trim down our seam allowances. So I'm going to use my zigzag scissors for this. But if you don't have those, you can just make little V's in your seam allowance around the corner. This will allow the corners to turn really neatly and smoothly. We trim like so, and you will end up with that. Next, we are going to turn this right side out. So I got the nice neat side outside. Nissan, one of the cats, just came into my sewing room, and of course, Lila Me has to tell her off. And we turn it like so, and poke out the corners like so. Let me take this, maybe scissors, and just kind of poke this out so that we get really neat corners all the way around. Hi, darling. Like so. And then we're gonna top stitch all the way around. So I'm gonna switch my presser foot to a compensator foot. And let's choose this one. This is 1/8 of an inch. Lila Me, don't, please. And we're going to lengthen the stitch length for top stitching. So I'm going to go to about 4. And then if your fabric allows, you can press this. And if you need to, definitely do. You want to check and make sure that it looks neat from all sides. Otherwise, fiddle with the seam a little bit and maybe push it under a little so that the lining isn't visible from the front of your flap. I'm actually going to place a few clips for this. So I'm just taking this finger, pulling it down so that I roll over the seam slightly, making sure that the lining isn't poking out anywhere. As you see, it was really hard to see this on this dark green fabric. I am gonna clip this so I don't make any boo-boos. This is part of my Christmas fabric collection, by the way, and I'm really loving it. It's so cool. I love the alcoholic kind of feel I managed to get really nicely. And there's poinsettias or Christmas roses. So in love with that. And there we go. You will get kind of a bubble-ish on the back when you do this, since the flap lining is the same size. But it's really just a millimeter, or say a 1/16 of an inch. So it's nothing we really have to be bothered by, I think. It doesn't bother me anyway. There we go. And then we stitch all around the edge here. This presser foot allows me to not worry about keeping my seam straight. since I push my fabric up to the compensator part and it kind of steers for me, which is really convenient when you're like me and a little unbalanced. Here we go. And in hindsight, I might have chosen a slightly long stitch length for this, because the corners are really hard to get neat when you have too long of a stitch length. So keep that in mind. Do as I say, not as I do, right? Like so. I'm thinking I really like the look of a second seam inside the first one on this. But I'm thinking I'm going to take a look, because I'm going to use this really cute golden lock. So I'm going to see how it looks, if I want the double seam or not. I think I might stick with the single one for this, actually. Yeah, we'll leave it like that. And then we're gonna leave the lid for now, or a flap for now, and continue with the handle. And that should be this piece, right? It's 7 1/4 inch long. Let me just double check that I'm having the right piece. I haven't sewn this one in quite a while, so let's see, 7 1/4 inch, yeah. So we're just gonna take this and a pen, and we're gonna grab our, oh, kitty cat. No kitty cats there. Hang on. So let's continue. I'm gonna take my handle, and then I'm gonna draw a line in the middle on the wrong side, just to kind of see where we're gonna fold. And we'll take our trusty double-sided tape. Can't live without this stuff. It's seriously the best invention ever. And here we, oops. Let's see, let's do that there. I placed this not exactly by the line I made, but slightly generous, 1/8 inch from it, so that when I'm sewing, I won't have to sew through the double-sided tape. There we go, and we fold this to the middle. But I leave about a 1/16 of an inch here between of air between the two, so that I can fold this easily in half, like so. And then we just clip this together. Making sure we line up the folds, because that will give us the neatest looking handle. Oh, that broke. Let's try another color. There we go, like so. Now we're going to sew all the way around this. And since we are, again, doing straight seams, I'm going to use a compensator foot to help me keep my seam straight. Like so. And if I see that this is kind of moving out of alignment, I'm stopping with my needle down. I lift my presser foot if I have to, and then arrange everything before I continue sewing. Stop with our needle down when we turn. And then since we're going to be folding away this part anyway, I don't have to have neat starts and stops to the seam, which is quite convenient. There we go. And there we have it, our neat, nice, straight handle, or as straight as I can get it anyway. Next, I'm going to glue up 1/2 inch fold here, like so, because I really like the look and lift that gives the handle when we put it on. So that's why I do this, even if I wouldn't technically have to when I'm working with the vinyl. I could leave the edges raw, so if you prefer that, absolutely do that. Whoops. Then I just add a drop of glue here, preferably without getting it everywhere, but that would be too much to ask, right? And a drop of glue on this side here, like so. And then I'm going to fold up 1/2 inch, and I'm going to place a clip around this so that it can dry. There we go. I'll do the same thing on this side. Fold up 1/2 inch. And put a clip on it so that it can dry in place. Let me see, that wasn't completely even, so I'm going to redo this fold, just including 1 millimeter more of fabric, like that. And now we just leave that to dry while we continue with the pockets. So I've decided that I only really want 1 open pocket, I think. Or do I want 2? I think I only want the 1. Let's make sure we're using the right pieces here. That's a pocket piece. And lining, lining, lining. Pocket. So we fold this pocket piece along the long side in the middle, down the middle side, and then we just stitch it close with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So to save myself having to switch presser foots, I'm just going to abuse my compensator foot a little for this. And then we turn this right side out. So we get a nice long tube, like so. And I'm just going to go give this a press. And when I press this kind of pocket, I usually leave the seam up on the back like this, so that I don't have to sew and balance on top of the seam when I sew this. So I'm just going to press this and I'll be back. So I just gave this a quick press so that I have the back seam there neatly on the back side. And then we're going to do some top stitching. And again, I use the same compensator foot. Just stitching a line here for decor along the top folded line without the seam in the bottom. And I chose to leave my green thread because I think that will make a neat contrast. Normally there's 2 slip pockets in this bag, but I realized I only really use one normally. So I'm just going to stick with the one. We're going to place this on a lining piece right side up. I'm sorry, it's not really easy to see with this fabric what's right side and what's wrong side. I noticed that when I was interfacing this. So 1.5 inch down from the top, we're going to place this pocket. And I usually use the long side of a ruler for this, because that way I can make sure that it's even all the way to the other end. And then we're gonna just clip this in place and secure the sides. So I'm just gonna base that down. And then we're going to stitch the bottom. When I do it this way, the sides can't move and I can't accidentally push it off center. So that's why I prefer doing the sides first nowadays. So we just stitch right at the edge of the pocket to secure it in place. Like so. And if we want to divide the pocket, which I really recommend that you do just make some divisions in this now. So since I'm just going to use this for little things like I don't know, lip gloss and maybe a hand sanitizer, I'm just going to make some random pockets here. But if you want something specific in your pockets, I would suggest that, let's pretend this is a lipstick and this is something I want to put in my pocket. I would place it in the pocket and then I would, oh, that was really large for this pocket, let's do it this way. Place it in the pocket and then I would kind of mark where the pockets has to start and begin for this piece to be able to be put in comfortably. Might be easy to show with something smaller like a pen. So for example, if I were to make a pocket for this pen, I would make it about this wide so that I easily could take it in and out. So if you're unsure, place a couple of pins where you think you want your pocket and try it out. But since I know what size I usually make my pockets, I'm going to be lazy and not really bother. I am, however, carefully going to secure the top of the pocket because that's where most of the strain is going to be when I put stuff in and take stuff out. So I make sure to really secure that thread. Then I'll make another one here probably, because then I can get my hand sanitizer in the middle there, since that's the one thing I use the most in my purses. Like so. We have our little slip pockets neatly and nicely. So we're going to make some D-ring tabs next, and I'm gonna see if I can find the piece for that here. Yep, I made mine slightly wider than the pattern since my D-rings are just slightly wider than 1/2 inch, which is really inconvenient, but anyway. I really like how they look, so that's why I use them anyway. So we're going to take a pen, and again we're going to mark the middle of this. So I'm not 100% sure how wide I made it. I made it 2.5, so 1.25 inch. I'm going to make my middle mark here. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing as we did with the handle. So mark, tape. Oh, but actually, no, we're not. I'm not going to do the same thing. We're going to split this in half, actually, I think, because I don't think I need this to be as thick as they're recommended to be in the pattern, because if you use cotton, you would want 4 folds for these, but I'm actually only going to be needing 2. So let's do that again. I split it in half. And then we do our middle fold and we tape. And instead of folding this 4 times like we did with the handle, we're only going to be folding it 1 time to the middle, because these tabs will be strong enough anyway to hold up our little purse. So there's really no need to make this any thicker than it has to be, since it's going to go in a seam. We really don't want the added bulk that 4 layers in this would give us, which would give us 8 layers when we're done. So that's just silly. And then we're just going to leave that like that. And we're going to stitch all around it. Or actually not all around, we're going to stitch along the long sides of it. I just do this because it's more convenient than starting over. And then we're going to split this in 4. So I'm just going to split it in half first. And then we're going to split these in half as well. So we get 4 D-ring tabs. Like so. And then we take our D-rings. And we're going to thread them onto these tabs. Like so, with the wrong side in. We're going to fold it over. And you can tape this in place, but I usually just take a couple of stitches to make sure they stay in place. Like so. I'm going to do this for all 4 of my D-ring tabs. Ta-da! And we can put those away. And I'm going to just trim off all the threads here so that they don't stick out anywhere we don't want them to. There we go. 4 fairly neat D-ring tabs. We're going to place them on one of our exterior pieces, and we're going to choose the one. So if you have ones with print or other decoration, you're going to choose the one you want for the back of your bag for this. And we're going to place them 1 inch down from each short end. So let's just measure that out. And plop them in place. And another 1 inch down. Oops. Like so. There we go, 1 inch down. And clip. And the last 2. Oh, right direction is important. 1 inch down. And the final one. also 1 inch down. What a shocker, right? I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. Let's see. So we will have a backside that looks something like this. And we're just gonna baste those in place. Just so they stay in place while we construct the bag. And this seam is not what's going to be holding these up later, so don't worry about weakening the vinyl if you're already, like me, sewing in your old stitches. This is not where we close it up. So don't worry about that, 1/8 of an inch, and ta-da! So, guys, today our handle should have dried, so we can attach that to our flap. And we're gonna first mark where we want that, and it should be 1 1 1/8 of an inch from the top edge of the fabric. Let's do that. The top edge of the flap, I mean. And then it should be 1 3/4 of an inch in from the short side. I should have read this before I started the video, but you know. I'm gonna just add a few straps of double-sided tape to kind of hold this in place before I rivet it in place. Oops. Should not have put lotion on my hands before I started this. Let's try that again. Like so. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. There we go. That was way harder than it should be. Okay, so from the top open section of the flap, we're going to place our handle 1 3/4 of an inch in from the short edge, like so, and the same on this side. So 1 3/4 of an inch in, like so. So we get a cute little handle there. And then I take my little mini protection mat and my hole punch, and I'm going to make a hole centered on top of this. So like kind of where you want to place this depends a little on your rivet cap. So we're going through the handle, the flap exterior fabric, and the foam, but we don't want to go through the lining, as then it will be visible when we open the bag, and I prefer when it's not. Let's see if that is all the way through, or if I need to do this on my table. I think I might have to do it, yeah, I have to do it on the table. Let me just squish that in place all the way through with a bit more force than I can use if I'm on here. So I'm just going to do that like so. So now I have a hole through, all the way through the foam, but not through the lining. And then I'm going to take my rivet and I'm going to pop it through before I do the other side, because otherwise I risk this moving. and I don't want that. And then on the inside here, I pop on my cap. Okay. Come on. There we go. Like so. And then we do the other side. And I'm gonna have to place that again because I wiggled it too much. So I'm just gonna pop this in here, and then I'm gonna place this and hold it in place so I don't accidentally move it. So 1 1/8 of an inch, and there we go. That should be there. And then we just poke a hole through here, and I'm just going to move this down again because I need to use quite a bit of force to go through all these layers. Not the strongest. So there we go. That should hopefully do it. And we take a rivet. Da, 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 da. I'm going with gold hardware on this bag because there's so much nice gold details on the fabric that I kind of wanted to keep that going. So there we have our flap. I'm just going to go squish this in place with my rivet setter, and then I'll come back. Hang on a second. There we go. Now our handle is riveted on very neatly, and it won't be visible on the back since the rivets are on the inside. Now, next, I thought we would get to our zippers. So, first I'm just going to even out the edge here and just melt that a little. And then we're going to make them, let me double check, 8 3/4 of an inch long. Sorry. Let's trim that. There. And then we burn the edge of this one. And this edge. That wasn't very straight. There we go. And we make the other one the same length. Like so. And burn that edge too. Rather make them a millimeter too short than too long is my advice here. Next we take our little zipper tabs. And since I'm working with vinyl, I'm actually gonna split this in half since I don't want to be folding it over itself unnecessarily. And then I'm just gonna fold them over the edge like so and just stitch them in place. Oh, by the way, if your foam is very white or fluffy on the back, you can just lightly burn the edge of that to kind of get a neat edge without that kind of white fluff. I don't know if you can see it because it's white on the back and it's sticking out there. So if you have unsightly fluff, just go over it with your lighter. That way it won't be visible from the front. There we go. So, just gonna fold that around the end there and clip it in place. Let me just give myself a little bit more to work with, like that. And then I just stitch this down. Well, this is an awkward angle to work from. Let me just switch presser foot real quick to one without the compensator. But I still want to keep working with a Teflon foot though, since the vinyl otherwise will stick to your presser foot and we don't want that. So now we do this instead. Oh, there we go. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And then you're going to want to repeat this for the other zipper as well. Then we clip off the excess of the edges. All four ends of our zippers, like so. There we go. And then we're going to start installing them. But first we're going to pop our flap on. So you want to place your flap on one exterior piece A, the one that's going to be the front of your bag, meaning the one without the D-rings. So center it carefully on my exterior, like so. Just squish your handle down there so that you can install this nicely and neatly. Now let's double check what measurements we got. We got 3/4 of an inch there, and we got 3/4 of an inch there. There we go. So that's centered. So now we're just going to stitch this down so that it stays in place during the construction. Oh, that was not good. So start on the flap. Otherwise you might end up like I did and pushing it in front of you. Let's try that again. So just baste this in place with a slightly generous 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, but you don't want to risk it being visible, this line of stitching, so rather make this seam allowance too narrow than too large. There we go, like so. And now we're going to start with the zipper. So we're going to take one of our zippers and we're going to place it with the wrong side up, and we're going to place it so the opening closes in the direction that you want, and this is outlined in the pattern. So I'm just going to follow my own instructions. Since I have tape, I'm going to be using that. I'm going to place some tape on both sides so I don't have to repeat that. That's easier on the hard surface. Let's do that. When I get to the zipper, I just move it out of the way so I don't get that little bump that the zipper pull otherwise makes. And then I just tape along the edge. And I'm going to do this on all four sides of both zippers. So I'm going to speed this up. There we go. Tape on all sides of all of our zippers, and then we continue. take the flap side of our exterior, place it so that the pull opens and closes in your desired direction. I want to open mine from the left to the right, so I'm going to place it so that the pull closes to the right. And this is important that you do the zippers in this order, otherwise your zippers will want to open and close in other directions. So just follow the pattern if you want them to open and close like I suggest in the pattern. So here we carefully center the zipper as well on our flap. Just press that down, edge to edge, all the way along the top there. And then we're going to take a lining piece. And since I want my little pockets that we made yesterday towards the back, in the back compartment, I'm going to take that piece now. Make sure that the opening of the pockets are up towards the flap. And then I'm going to take another strip of tape. Place that along the top here, not all the way out to the edge, since I don't have zipper all the way out to the edge, but almost. Like so. And then I'm going to place that on my zipper. And since, oh no, the tape came off. I think I need to open a new tape. It's not really gripping great. Let's put that straight on here then. Instead, see if it grips easier on that zipper maybe. Like so. And then with the zippers opening up, we place our lining edge to edge with the zipper. Like so. There we go. I'm going to place a couple of clips along this just to make sure it doesn't move, since my tape is a little on the iffy side. And then I'm going to turn it over so that I can see the interfacing here, make sure I don't sew on the interfacing. My zipper, compared to the interfacing, it will be a little tight to open and close if I sew directly edge to edge with my interfacing. So I'm going to use about 1/4 inch seam allowance for this. So again, I'm going to switch my presser foot to a bed. Actually, I think I'm just going to use this one, since that will allow me to go right next to the foam interfacing, but on the other side than I usually work. So let me just put up another camera. So let me explain my choice of zipper foot. Since the seam allowance and the width of my zipper tape is the same, when I use this as a guide, I know that it's the same as on the zipper, since it's edge to edge here. So if I use this presser foot, it will give me a neat bit of area for opening and closing, but still a nice straight neat line. So that should work great. So shorten the stitch length to 2.5, and then we go. Now when I get to the zipper pull, I'm gonna stop with my needle down and pull it out of the way. Otherwise it's really bulky to sew over, and you'll get that unsightly little bulk on your zipper tape. I don't want that. we go. Now we're going to check and see that this turned out nice and straight. Oh, sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. That this turned out nice and straight. And it really looks like it did, so that's great. And then this presser foot was a good choice. So I'm glad. I'm going to pop you back and we're going to continue. So I'm going to unfold this and fold it like so that I keep this lining and such out of the way for when we sew the next piece of the bag. So I just kind of fold it out of the way like so and then clip it in place. And I can keep this in the same direction actually. There we go. And now we're going to take our exterior back piece and place, we should place the zipper straight here, but since we already taped our zipper, we can just put that right on top of there using the tape we already placed on the zipper. So again, this should be centered. I hope you can see that. Yeah, this should be centered. Like so. Very careful and try to get this edge to edge to make sure that your zipper is perfectly straight all the way, because otherwise it will get wonky. And no one likes a wonky zipper installation, right? There we go. Like so. So that looks like that. We got the back exterior there. Then I managed to woggle those out of the way anyway. There we go. Like so. And then we take another lining piece and we're going to place that on top. Let me just place some tape first. So we tape on top of the zipper, edge to edge again. There we go. And we place a lining piece right side down. If you have lining with direction, it should be up towards the zipper. Lining with direction. If you have a lining with a print, with direction. And again, carefully edge to edge here to keep it nice and straight. There we go, and a couple of clips just to be safe. Again, since my tape is not brand new. There we go. So that's clipped in place. I'm going to turn it over, and again I'm going to stitch from the same side as I did with the other piece and do it exactly the same way. Now I can take these two away since they're just adding bulk, and I'm just going to stitch that down. And here we have the zipper bowl. So I'm just going to stop with the needle down and pull that out of the way so we can continue getting a nice and neat straight seam all the way. There we go. I'm going to check and see that this turned out neatly. Let's close this since it's much easier to see what we're doing. Let's see. Well, that looks very neat and straight, no? Yeah, I think so. Yep. Now we have our zipper on the back. We need to make or add a zipper for the front. So let's take our exterior piece A, the one without the D-ring, and place it right side up like so, the short end without the zipper. And then we're going to place our zipper right side down, and this time it should be closing to the left. So that actually you can see if you flip this up, it will be closing in the same, oh, you can't see that. If you flip this up, it will be closing in the same direction as this one. So you want them to go in the same direction, generally. Of course, that's also preference. If you prefer to do it some other way, go ahead. You do you. That's the best thing when making your own bags. No one can tell you you have to do it any specific way. You can just do whatever you want or whatever you prefer. So we place this one down the same way. Edge to edge, centered, like so. Place another strip of tape on top. Also edge to edge. And on top of that tape, we place a lining piece. Right side down. Centered on top of our zipper. There we go, a couple of clips for safety. And we flip it over. And I saw this exactly the same way that I did the others. There's a whole lot of repetition on this bag, isn't it? So here I have the zipper pull right at the start. So I'm going to stop and pull that out of the way a bit there. Then I have to stop again and pull it out of the way again, but you know, the price we pay for perfection, right? And we continue all the way out. There we go. We double check that this is nice and straight. I'm gonna close that pull. And yeah, that looks neat and straight. Makes me very happy. Oops. Okay, so since I easily get very tired, and when I get tired, I get unfocused, this is day 3 of attempting to finish this Hollywood handbag. So now we're going to top stitch the zippers so that we get our lining out of the way when we open and close it. So I chose to use a compensator foot for this, Teflon, since it will be gliding on the vinyl. And I hope this one should be good. If you're unsure, just run your presser foot along where you want the seam and see which one gives a nice distance and which is easy to operate or handle next to the zipper. So I'm just going to check that I pressed record. Totally did. Nice. And let's start with this one, the one with the flap. So we're going to, in the pattern I do this directly after I've sewn them, but since I like to change presser foot for this, I'm going to do it in a different order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my lining fabric away from the zipper and clip it in place so that it stays nice and flat when we stitch this. So I just hold here, grab and pull so that it comes clear from the zipper. That was a small one. Do we have any large clips here somewhere? And clip it out of the way. Actually, this is more clever to put in the other direction since I'm going to be sewing from that direction. There we go. Like so, and I'm going to do the other side as well while I'm at it. So pull the lining away from the zipper to keep it clear. Out of the way. as we top stitch. So it'll look like this from the back. Zipper nice and clear from the lining fabrics. Then we're going to have the, oh actually I'm going to switch to a bottom thread that matches my lining a bit better than the green actually. Otherwise, if I make a somewhat wonky seam, it'll be so darn visible. So I think I'm going to go with white. So switch to a thread that matches your lining for this to buy yourself some forgiveness if the seam gets a little wonky, which nowadays my seams often do, since my hands tend to lose their grip unexpectedly. Oh, that was on. Choose the stitch length you want. I'm going with 3.5. And then I'm gonna put this like this actually. And I'm just gonna sew on top here from where the zipper starts right here to where the zipper ends right there. So let me just grab that. There we go. Actually, I'm going to leave my thread tails long so that I don't have to backstitch to secure my thread, because that will leave an unsightly bulk of threads there, and that's not very nice. So there we go. I'm using my compensator foot to kind of guide along in the seam here. We stop our seam right where the zipper stops. And we leave long thread tails. And that looks nice and neat. And now when we open our flap later, or now actually, we're going to open it now. Oh, I caught the flap. It's not going to catch on the lining. So I'm going to pull back my lining again, just to make sure, since I managed to catch my flap in this when I did it last. So make sure you don't catch the flap. I'm going to do all the tying of all the thread tails a little later, so that I only have to fiddle with that once. And now I'm going to sew again, starting and stopping my seam where the zipper begins and ends. There we go. I'm going to increase my presser foot pressure a little bit. There we are. And I use my compensated foot again to guide me along so that I know I get a perfectly straight seam. When I get to the zipper, pull, I stop with my needle down and pull it out of the way. That way I won't get that little bubbly wobbly kind of situation where the zipper pull is in the way for the pressure foot. And we stop where the zipper ends. Ta-da! That looks nice and neat. Oh, very pretty, I have to say. And the final one. So this one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to remove some of these clips that we don't need anymore. We're going to pull the zipper lining away from the zipper and clip it in place so that the lining stays neatly out of the way, like so. And then we stitch this part as well, top stitch it. Let me see if I can just grab a hold of this thread here. We want them to be fairly long so that we can easily tie them later. And then stitch the final seam before we sew the back closed. When we get to the zipper pull again, stop with the needle down and pull it out of the way. And we stop the seam where the zipper stops. Ta-da! And that's top stitch 2. So I'm going to tie these off first before I sew this closed to save myself some frustration later. So I'm just going to show you on one, and then I'm going to do them all and I'll get back to you. So the first video I made of this, it didn't show very well what I was doing, so I'm going to redo it for this side of the zipper. So what I do here to make a neat ending to the seam, here, is I take the top thread. I use a self-threading needle for this. I always I grabbed the wrong needle. I always keep one by my sewing machine for this kind of stuff. So I just pop that on there, and then I'm going to pull the thread in the existing hole and push it back to the lining side, like hopefully so, like so, and pull the front thread to the back side so that the seam just sort of ends there without any back stitching or anything. And we turn it over. Whoops, sorry guys. So we have the wrong side up, and we just tie this off with a couple of regular knots. And then I thread both these threads onto my needle again, like so. And I'm gonna, in the same hole as I pull this up, I'm going to push it down. That was wrong. Push it down and pull it out on the back side, so in between the layers of the bag really. And then I just give, if I take a look at the front, a little tug, and that way I've buried my knot on the back so that it's not visible from either the back or the front. Now I'm going to do the others and then I'll get back to you. I have tied off all of my threads, and now we're going to sew this together. So we're going to put this right side up. We're going to grab the part with the zipper and fold it over to the back part without the zipper. And then we're just going to use the tape we already placed and tape it down centered on the back exterior piece, carefully edge to edge. Like so. Then we're going to take our final piece of lining and we're going to place that on top, right side down. First I'm just going to pop some tape here. There we go. Then we place our lining centered on top. Again, I'm going to place a couple of clips just to make sure this stays in place. Feels like I was saying the same thing this entire video. Well, it's a lot of repetition with these two zippers. So let's switch to the presser foot that we used for sewing the zippers together. So I'm going to go to my piping foot. I'm actually not going to bother with, actually I am. I'm going to bother and I'm going to switch to the green thread for this just in case, because you don't want any place where the seam might be gaping just a little bit for some reason, and then you really don't want the white thread popping out. So I'm going to shorten my stitch length again, and then we're gonna sew down this zipper. We get to the zipper pull, stop with the needle down, pull the pull out of the way. Like so. Then we're gonna open and see that this turned out even. And I just forget that you have to look at this from the little hole. That looks nice and even, so yeah. Then we switch back to the presser foot we used for the top stitching. In my case, my compensator foot in Teflon, since we'll be sewing on top of the vinyl again. I'm gonna switch back. Oh no, I dropped it. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. To the thread that matches your lining, since it will be visible. Now, increase your stitch length. Now we're going to, first and foremost, take our lining fabric and like so, again, pull it out of the way from the zipper and clip it out of the way. We don't want to risk it getting caught in our seam, especially since the seam is a little fiddly to sew. So I'm going to place 2 clips here, and don't clip the other exterior, just the one, so that we can open this. So now that we saw this, we're going to open the zipper fully. Now I'm going to try to figure out which is the best way to make it possible for you to see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to try a few different camera positions. I think this position will be easiest, so here's what I've done. This is the lining that we just clipped away. This is the place we're going to be sewing. And so to make this easiest, we're going to, through the opening of this zipper, the opposite zipper, we're going to sew this through there. So I hope you can see what I'm doing. Make sure you have long thread tails, and then lift your zipper up, zipper pull, not zipper pull. Well, that was not a good position. You can't see what I'm doing. We're going to put this in here. Might need a little force. And then through the opening here, we are going to start our seam. So this is fiddly, I know, but it is actually the easiest way to do it. Because then this way we can sew this seam in one go. So let this take a few seconds. Make sure everything is positioned as it should before you start your seam. Make sure you're oh, this is fiddly when you try to make sure it's visible. Okay, so we start sewing. Slow and steady wins the race. When you get to like the end of where your hands can hold, stop with your needle down, reposition, and keep sewing. like so. Oh, this really requires more muscle than I have. And here we're gonna stop and pull the zipper pull out of the way, like so. And then we're gonna pull this a little in this direction. Make sure we have, I'm gonna remove this so I can fiddle with this a little bit more. This out of the way, and oh, like so, and then we're gonna sew the final stitches. And there we stop. Oops. And then we're gonna get this out of the way and clip our tails. So here we have, let's see if you can see. We have our top stitched section, which should be fairly neat, assuming you manage. But now the lining is out of the way. So I'm just gonna pull these threads back and anchor them. And I do that the same way, so I'm not gonna film that. There we go. I have changed the bottom thread to one that matches my exterior fabric. And switching to the compensated foot, which I can use to sew right next to my interfacing. If you're using a domestic machine, I would recommend the same foot as I did for the flap, a zipper foot, where you can move the needle right to the edge here so that you can sew right next to the interfacing without resting it on top. So now we're going to clip this together, and we're going to start by aligning. Let me see if you can see that good. Yeah. First and foremost, you want to push the zippers. Make sure your zippers are open. That's the first step. Both of them. Both of mine are open. Yeah. And then we're going to push the zippers like that in the direction of the lining so that this kind of lays like that. You want the exteriors to lie right next to each other, like so, and the zipper to be pushed in the direction of the lining. This way you'll get the neatest corners. And then we're gonna clip this in place, like so. You can see there that they're edge to edge. We're gonna do the same on this side. I grab a hold like that with my nails, push it up so that this pops out there, and then I line up the exteriors like so, and I clip it in place. Oh, the pink ones keep breaking. They're really poor quality. I don't know why. There we go. Double check off the clipping. We do the same on this side of the zipper. Like so, zipper poking up, exteriors lining up, like so, and clip in place. And the final one, yay! Like so, lining up the exteriors. There we go. And clip in place. And then we're going to clip close the exteriors, edge to edge, all the way around. Like so. And then the linings also need to be lined up and clipped. So we place a couple of clips here too. Now let's see. This is the side with the flap. So we're going to want to sew this end closed. The one with the flap should be closed. But this side is the one without the flap. You can put a hand in there and feel if you're uncertain, but it's the bulky side that's the flap. And this side should have an opening left so we can turn the bag. So we're going to leave the bottom open for turning. If you, like me, tend to forget this, I recommend that you, instead of doing like I do, place a different kind of clip where you want the opening to be. That way, when you come to those clips, you will know that, oh, there was something I was supposed to do here. Because I keep sewing everything closed. Like so. And I'm just going to double check and see that I haven't accidentally moved any of my clipped corners as I was fiddling with this. So just take a little peek. And this one had actually moved a millimeter or so. There we go. Sorry. I'm just going to start along the long side here. Or actually I can start. No, I'm going to want to go there. Oh, zipper pulls out of the way. Let's start here. So since your seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch, you're going to want a slightly more generous seam allowance on the lining. So add at least 1/8 of an inch to your seam allowance, because that way the linings will lie neatly inside the bag later. Otherwise you risk them feeling bulky. Shorten your stitch length. And then we start sewing. And then I just slightly angle my seam upwards till I get to the zipper. And here I'm gonna take the help of my trusty tool, because this way I can remove the clip and I can sort of navigate this under here. And with the help of this, I know it can't move, so I just clip it in place and that holds really well. It's the kind doctors use. And then we just continue all the way here, carefully over the D-ring tabs. That didn't want to let go. There we go. And then when you get to the lining, remember to increase your seam allowance slightly as you work your way towards the corner. If you're uncertain, you can always just draw your seam allowance out before you sew this. And this is the side we still closed, so just continue all the way over. Oh, I saw a little too far. And then we continue the final stretch. No, not really the final stretch, but almost. here, we take these, we clip this so that it can't escape from us. And home run, almost, anyway. And this final one, it's actually really nicely there, so I'm just gonna hold it with my with my nail. Increase your seam allowance slowly as you go towards the bottom. And this is the final part. There we go. Our bag is sewn closed. Let's get some of this out of the way. Then I'm just gonna trim the edges, seam allowance. And if you think this feels bulky, you can always just remove a little here as well. So that this was not the best choice of scissors for this job. Let's take the big ones. And you just trim that there and just trim a little here to reduce some of the bulk. And on the other side as well. Clip the corner. And you can trim the bottom here as well, since we won't be sewing this again. Just get some of that out of the way. And the corner. Oh, this is ridiculous. I'm a strong, independent woman. Can totally trim my own seam allowances. Let me just stand up and put a little force behind it. There we go. That's better. Nice. Sorry. With those trimmed, it's time for a very exciting turning. Yay. So, I'm going to put my hand in here and find that lining, pop that in there, and pull this all through. If you have a vinyl that's a bit sensitive, you can always heat it with your blow dryer first before you start turning this, to kind of make the vinyl a bit more forgiving when it comes to wrinkles and stuff. But since I know this one, it's from Bollinge Sycentrum, and I've worked with several colors of this, and I know it's quite forgiving. I'm not going to bother, I just want to see my bag. There we go. Da, da, da. Ooh, this is going to be pretty, guys. There we go. There we are. If you have a problem lifting these up, just push something through. There should be a little room here to just do that and lift them up to get those neat corners. Then we're going to pop this one in, turn these corners out as well. Oh, and I have a third there. And the final corner. And we lift it up. Come on, guys. There we go. Like so. And we have our first real idea of how our bag is going to look. It's going to be so pretty. So let's just fold this in half and take a peek. Oh my goodness, you guys, it's going to be so cute. I mean, how adorable is that going to be? Okay, it requires a bit of pressing and some, TLC, but it's going to be so pretty. Okay, so first I'm gonna add my little pink pony tag to this. So I'm gonna see where I want that. Oh, actually I don't have one here. So let's start with the lock. So first we're going to install this part. Oh, I need a smaller screwdriver. What kind we want for this? Oh, that was a little. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to be very careful not to lose these screws. So I'm going to just place them there. Like so. And then we're going to decide where on the flap we want this. I think that looks really neat, right? Yeah. So let's first make sure it's centered. Oh, there's a lot of stuff here now. So the middle of the lock should be 4 1/4 inch away from each edge. I'm going to place it 1/2 inch up. So it's easier to draw with the back side. So that's the only reason I'm replacing this. Now when I know where I like it. And then I'm going to make a mark. Is that visible? That was very barely visible. I should have a white pen somewhere. There. Like so. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. I'm gonna take my hole punch and just make a hole. I can't do that here, so I'm just gonna pop over to my cut. So I made the hole with my hole punch, and now I'm gonna make holes for the screws. So I'm just gonna place this on top of the big hole I just made. Draw where I want the holes for the screws, and then I'm just gonna use this to make the holes, since I find that to be easiest. Let's see. Of course, that didn't go all the way through in the back. No, almost did. I'm just gonna take my itty bitty scissors and trim those away. Go. No, that one didn't work. There we go. There we are, and let's see if this lock fits in the holes that we made. And it really does. That's so neat. So we place it from the right side. in the hole. Also, if you find that these are, the threads are coming undone, if you got a fabric that melts nicely like I do, you can just kind of burn those edges a little to eat those threads up. Put this in here. And then from the wrong side, we fiddle a bit with placement. There we go. Now we pop this on. And we take our little screws and put them back in. There we go. I really like the look of this lock, by the way. I think it will be perfect for this bag. Christmas, love, you know. There we are. Ta-da! Let's see how that looks from the front. Oh, look how cute that turned out. That's so adorable. Okay, so since I have a little fabric sticking up here, I'm just gonna burn that a little. There we go. Okay, so we have the flap, and now we need to decide where we want this to go. So I'm gonna make sure my bag is like I want it to be. I'm gonna take these ones, and clip it together. Like fold it in half, like so. And then just clip the D-rings together like they will be in the finished bag. There we go. Do the same thing on the other side. Then I'm just gonna like massage this a little so that the bag gets the shape that I want and that it feels like I want it to be. I'm going to do this more carefully later with my hairdryer to kind of heat set the vinyl in the shape I want it. But for now, this gives me like the base shape of the bag anyway. So that will help me decide where I want the the other part of the closure to go. So this is important, since when we stuff this bag full, it's gonna bulge a little, right? So we don't want to place this, like we don't want to flatten this and then place this really tight on top like that, because then when you fill the bag, you won't be able to close it, and you really don't want that. So pretend like you got some stuff in there, and then just kind of loosely close this more. And then we can mark where we want the lock. Just gonna see that the handle ends up in a place where I'm happy with it as well. Yeah, that should do it. So let's mark where we want the lock to be. Oh, I had an open pen there. Make sure it's centered. And if you're unsure, just pop it 1/8 of an inch higher than you originally were planning, because that way we know. There we go. Then we're going to take the other part of our lock, the male part, let's straighten our prongs, and based on where now we can open the bag, where we want to place our mark, we're gonna do marks for our prongs. I don't know if you can see my mark here, but at least I can, so I'm just gonna place my prongs centered on top of this mark and then make little marks for where I want the prongs to go. this vinyl color was really not the best choice for a tutorial, guys. I will admit that. And I'm a little embarrassed. So please forgive me. So let's just do this again. Close it and see that that feels good. I think it does. Yeah. And then we pull out our lining, so that's out of the way. And place our hand inside the bag to protect the vinyl, and then we make our little slits where we made the marks. Rather make these too small to start with because it's easy to make them larger, but the other way around, not so much. Insert the legs of your lock in the slits, if you can. I made mine too small, so I'm going to make them a little bigger. It can be really hard to kind of make the holes through the foam and the interfacing and stuff, so just kind of... And my alarm went off, so I thought I was filming, but I wasn't. So just kind of wiggle that in there. And if you, like me, can't get it through on the, because I have the woven interfacing over my fused. So I'm just going to do that. And there we have it. Take the washer and through the lining. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah. Pop that on there, like so. And bend the legs down. Now, before we decisively put that in place, I'm just going to see that I can close this with it like all bundled up, and I can. So that works great. So now I'm just going to straighten these legs perfectly. And I'm gonna pop a little bit of duct tape on top of that so that the legs don't accidentally rub my lining to pieces after a while. So just take some duct tape and place it on top of the legs. And this is really hard to do, so you can see, so I'm just gonna pop that in there. Over the legs. Like so, so this way the lining fabric is protected. There we are. Ta-da! Oh, this is so cute. Then we're gonna sew our bottom close. But before I do that, I actually just want to give this a going over with my hair dryer and just make sure everything is exactly like I want it. So I'm going to do that, and then we finish this up. Yay! So my phone died, so I had to wait a little to do this. I had 3% when I turned off the last video. That was impressive. So I gave this a bit of a going over with my blow dryer to kind of just shape it up a little. I'm going to do some more to the handle. But I really want to finish this, so I thought we would put in the Pink Pony design tag here. So basically what I do when I install this is that I just decide where I want it placed, and then I just kind of just push it into the vinyl so I get the marks, where to make my marks. I'm just going to see that I haven't accidentally bent the prongs. Yeah, so there. Let's see, does that look good? Do you want it like there maybe? What do we think? Do you want it off-centered? Do you want it centered? No, that was weird. Maybe there, or is it just too much with that too? No, I do think you want a tag, right? Or is it too much? Is it overwhelming? No. No, there can't be too much bling, right? No, no, no such thing as too much bling. I think that is like a good height. Let's see, so it's perfectly centered. Yeah. I think that'll do it. And then we just kind of push that there. So we get our little marks. Like so. I hope you can see them. And we use our seam ripper, pull our lining out again, out of the way. And then I just make the little holes for the legs of the tag. There we go, let's pop that in. I'm just going to open this up again because the woven interfacing is kind of giving me a hard time here. There we go. That's our tag in place. Let's pop on some washers on the legs. Just bend that in place. Could have done this while I still hadn't sewn the bag, but I really like being able to see exactly where it ends up. So I often actually install these sort of after the bag is finished, especially in bags I haven't placed a tag on before. So there. And I'm totally gonna have to give this a going over again, because now I wrinkled all the vinyl. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that's not centered. Where's it, the flap? It was the flap. Ta-da! I really like how that came out. It's so cute. I'm so happy I'll have a Christmas bag finally. Okay, so that's kind of it for the construction of the bag. We just need to sew close the bottom. So let's do that. And I just kind of poke out the corners like so. And then just take my fingers like that and just pull it apart. And that way it kind of folds down at the seam allows, and I can just place some clips. There we are, final one. Like that. And I'm actually going to be a good girl and switch my thread for a white one, because I know this will bother me if it ever pops up. Now that we have our machine rethreaded with the correct color thread, I'm gonna adjust my stitch length, and then we're gonna sew this. Oh, why aren't you feeding? Oh, because I don't have any pressure foot on the fabric. There we go. I should have switched to a different presser foot, since not a lot of this is on the fabric. But again, I'm tired now. Unfortunately, the current medication, or some of the current medications I'm on, causes me to get a lot of brain fog. And when I focus on a thing for too long, or anything for too long, my brain kind of just fogs up, and it's really hard to think properly. Oh, and that's my hubby. He's working in the garage, and you can hear it here on the second floor. Don't know what he's doing. He's drilling something, sounds like. So let's just pop that in there. Like so. Ta-da! Oh, so cute! And I love that when I'm out and about with this bag, I just kind of unclip this. And if I have like a scarf or something, I just pop it in here when I'm not wearing it. So I can just kind of throw it over my shoulders when I need it. So I find that so convenient. So, ta-da! That's it basically, making a Hollywood handbag. We're just gonna sew the strap and then we're done. So I finished the strap. A fairly short sole strap is what I preferred for this kind of bag. So now all we gotta do is click this on. So let's just pop that on. Like that, and on the other side too. Ta-da! We have an adorable Hollywood handbag. Isn't that so cute? I love it so much. It's such a cute bag, and I love that everything is so neatly organized in the 2 separate compartments. And when you're out and about and your zip is closed and your flap is closed, it's super secure. No one can just like put a hand in and steal what you have in your purse, because the double closures make sure no one can just access your stuff. And I like that, especially when I'm out in the big city. So please let me know what you think of this bag, and I'd love to hear if you'll be making one in the future. If you do, don't hesitate to show it off in the Pink Pony Patterns group. And I hope you enjoyed this despite my many mess ups. Please laugh with me and not at me. Have a great evening, guys. Ciao.